men's shot put competition, we had an issue amongst one of the top competitors there, Darrell Hill. Had the world championship standard. He has made multiple world championship teams as well as the Olympics. Really solid thrower. The one that's in question is the first throw from the competition. He has big throw, big way to start off the comp, and it was measured out at being 21.44 meters. But he gets the red flag, and so they originally say that he fouled on the front of the board, and so he was a little concerned. He's like, what the heck is this? I didn't foul it, and so he goes up to the official and says, hey, I don't believe that I fouled on the front of the toe box. If you touch the top of the plastic wall on the shot put, or if you extend and touch the ground in front of it as well, that's a foul, and the throw doesn't count. And so the official originally says that he fouls on the front of the board. They say that he fouls the throw, and he looks at it. He's like, no, this isn't a foul. I was not fouling in the front. And then the official's like, oh no, we messed up. You didn't foul in the front, you fouled in the back of the circle. And so at this point he's really confused because he's like, wait, you're changing what the foul is. You're saying it was up front, now you're saying the foul is in the back. Like what's going on here? And so he appeals the foul. And during this entire time, the competition's still going. So he's having this disagreement with the officials as well as trying to still compete at the same time. So it's not like they stop the competition, this is going on. This is all happening at the same time as the competition is. So he discusses with the official, and the rule for a foul on the back of the box, this is rule 187B, states, touches any part of the body, the top of the iron band or painted circles, including the top inside edge of each or the surface outside the circle. Note, it will not be considered a failure if the touch is made without providing any propulsion and occurs during any first rotation at a point completely behind the white line, which is drawn outside of the circle running, theoretically through the center of the circle. So if your toe hits the back of the top of the cement lip, then it's okay, unless you're using it to propel yourself to go farther. So you'll see there's the shot put is usually dug into the ground a little bit, and so if your foot touches on the top of it, it's fine as long as it's behind that white line. But if you use it kind of as a lever to push off, like a starting block, that's when there's a problem. And so this is a rule that you don't see oftentimes used or as a foul within the shot put. It's not oftenly called. And so he's getting this foul, and they're looking at the tapes, they're going back and forth. So right now he's in 8th place, and there is one more thrower that's going, Jordan Geist from Arizona. And so he gets a throw, and on his last throw, he gets a 20.26, which pushes him ahead of Darrell Hill, who had 20.23, puts him in 8th place, and now he's there. But when Darrell looks at the tape or sees the throw, he's like, oh yeah, like he fouled there. His foot was on the corner just like mine was, so that's a foul, it doesn't count. But they don't call that a foul. So he's like, whoa, what the heck's going on here? Like, you're calling mine a foul, you're not calling his a foul. It was the same type of thing. So why is there a difference right here? It should be treated the same way. And so he goes back to the official and he says, wait, that was a foul, and so it's okay. Do you want to appeal that, or do you want to appeal a throw? And so he says, yeah, like actually let's go to a throw from Ryan Krauser. And they look at a throw from Ryan Krauser, and it looks like it's the same type of thing. Like it looks like it's gonna be a foul where his foot is on the top edge. This isn't a foul. I don't believe it's a foul. We did the same thing, so why aren't we treated equally? And then so he now appeals it to an even higher ranked official, who is like the appeals coach or person or whatever. And the appealer, he's like, okay, this is a judgment call. Did you, talking to the official, see a foul on the throw that Darrell threw? And he's like, yes, I did. He's like, all right, that's it. It's foul then. It doesn't even look at the video. And if you look at the video, it shows like it's a pretty standard throw. Like you wouldn't see anything different out of it from everyone else. It's very similar to every other person's throw that's competing there. And so Now he's livid. And this entire time he's like, he's really upset of what's going on because it's not being treated fairly and in an equal way that his blunder or his throw was. And so there's a big arguments that are ensuing. If you're watching the stream, you're probably seeing all of this. And so after he then appeals to like USATF and all of that, unfortunately the appeal doesn't work for him, and so he's left off the team. That throw that he had on the first throw would have put him in the top 3. He had what was, like we said, a 21.44, which would have put him in 4th place at the time, and he would have been going off to Eugene for the World Championships. But because of this foul that they had, it doesn't count. And he put this on Instagram, and you see a lot of fellow athletes are getting his back. Like a lot of fellow athletes saying, this is BS, this is stupid, we have your back, blah, 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 we know what's going on. And it's really unfortunate and unsettling with the way that this was treated, because it was so clear that the throw that he had done was the same as the throw that virtually every other competitor had done. His foot was in the same position as virtually every other competitor. He was using the circle the same way as every other competitor. And so it's like, why was he treated differently compared to the ways that these other athletes were treated? He had mentioned that the official didn't know who he was. He didn't know who the official was. There wasn't any long-term beef or anything. It's not like that guy might have had it out for him and he was looking for any reason to get him out. This was the first time they were interacting. And so he had no reason to, be kind of, angry at him. And so it comes back to this, where it looks like, these officials might have been going on some sort of like a power trip here. I mean, look, we're not saying you got to get every single call right all the time. Like, no official is going to get every call right every time, especially the first time you see it. But what we have seen in sports, it's not just here in this situation, but just in sports as a whole, officials don't like turning over their calls. They very rarely will turn over their calls, because they make it seem like, oh, I got it wrong and I'm admitting that I was incorrect, and so that means my credibility is going down, and so they just don't want to admit that they're wrong. And it's like I said, it's not just here with this meet, it's just across all sports when it comes to officiating. And so it sucks, because it's now at the hands of the fact now Darrell doesn't get to go to Worlds, and so this is really costly for a guy like him. I mean, you're going to the World Championships, which many of these contracts have incentives based on you qualifying for world teams, and now not allowing you to go because this official went on a little bit of a power trip and didn't allow you to kind of compete. I mean, that also, like we said, affected his other throws. I mean, this happened on the very first throw of the competition. So for his next 2 attempts, he was focused in on, this issue at hand. And so, his second throw where he threw a 22-3, that was probably affected. And then the third throw where it's a no mark was probably affected. And so this one situation of the head official, not being helpful and being a nuisance and a problem affected where he was gonna end up placing. And it's really unfortunate. And what else sucked there is he had mentioned during this entire time, none of the other officials were willing to help. It was just the head guy versus him, and all the other officials had their head down, turned around, not trying to assist. And it's like, your job here is to run a fair competition. And so that's fair for everyone. And if you get something wrong, admit it, and then fix the problem. And because it's not like it was like they're looking at a judgment call and they didn't have video. If it was like, hey, this is what I saw, and it's like, we don't have video for it, so we can't go back, that's one thing, because then it's based off of just something of, he said, she said, he saw, we saw. But in this competition, they had video of the throw, and they were looking at it. And so it's like, you got to explain what we're seeing and what the other person's not seeing, because clearly there was a disconnect there. What they probably should have done was, look, this is the video, we're going to pause it right here. You see where your foot is, and you see the action that it makes. This is why we're calling the foul. But they didn't do that. And so not only did they not have clarity on why this was a foul, but they just didn't, go through the proper process to, make it what should potentially be, a foul, or whether it was or whether it wasn't. So this was just an annoying situation for Darrell, and want to make sure we spread some word on that. I know many of you guys are sprinting fans and maybe jumping fans, and so might not have heard about this controversy, but it happens. And these are one of those situations very similar to a false start issue. Like, let's say an official calls a false start on X runner, whoever it might be, and then you go back to the tape and it's clear that it's not a false start, but the official just doesn't let him or her go back to the competition. That's what this was, and it's massive, because now he wasn't able to go to the finals, and he wasn't able to compete and try to make the team. And saying like, oh, it would have automatically gotten you to the world championships. Who knows? Because all of these other athletes are competing off of what they've already thrown, and so who knows if these other throwers, knowing that Darrell had thrown a 21:44, maybe they would have had some extra oomph going into it, and maybe someone would have passed. We don't know, but we know that you weren't given a fair opportunity to at least see that situation through. And so that's what the problem is. It's like, let's make sure that we're going all the way through with what the issue is, and have everyone, getting the most eyes on deck. Like this guy that was at the top of the appeals, don't just say it's a judgment call. Like, it shouldn't be a judgment call. It should be you did it or you didn't. It's not a judgment. It's you either propelled off the edge or you didn't propel off the edge. It's not I think you didn't, I think you didn't. It's you did or you didn't. And the fact that they're not able to make that distinction, maybe that's one of the problems. And maybe if it's like, hey, that's going to be a problem that we're having, then maybe change the system, man. Like if it's like, hey, we don't want to have these people propelling off the back lip of the edge, then maybe change the lip. Maybe make it higher, maybe make it lower, whatever it is. But if that's an issue that's going on, maybe you should change something in the system. That's just my idea.